Come along with us today and we will show you how to make more than a wish out of your dandelions. Plus, I'm going to give you a little glimpse into spring on our homestead.
Welcome to the From Scratch Farmhouse. Come learn with us.
To be honest, spring days on the homestead were not my favorite the first few years we were here. The mud really got to me, especially when we were living in a trailer with no entryway. The sun would feel deceitful with the chill still in the air. Many days of damp rain would keep us inside. But this year has been different, maybe partly because of mindset and partly because of circumstances as well. We've been filling our days cuddling kittens, exploring and building forts, rediscovering activities that were hidden by snow for so long, and best of all, working towards building our little homestead. In the past few weeks, we have done so much. We added meat birds to our farm, which is something we haven't done in several years. We ordered our chicks from Meyer Hatchery, and they all came healthy and happy. Out of 54 birds, we have only had one loss during the night when they were a few weeks old and already out on pasture. The others are doing well and living the good life out in their new chicken tractor. The chicken tractor is massive, but thankfully by screwing a 2x4 onto the front and putting wheels on the back, my kids and I can now move it around. The biggest mistake we made the last time we did meat birds was not giving them fresh grass often enough. They got very nasty and were hard to clean off when it was time to process them. Not to mention, it made the whole butchering experience that much more unpleasant. Despite popular belief, these Cornish cross poults are eager to forage and have been seen eating greens and bugs. So far it has been a good experience, but I'll let you know after we process this many if we will do it again. We also, for the first time ever, successfully hatched 13 baby chicks. They were from a friend's flock because we don't currently have a rooster, which made it even more fun to see what colors they would be. We ended up with quite the variety, and just like everyone warned us would happen, are now helplessly addicted to hatching chicks. It was an amazing learning experience for my kids, as well as for us, and I really have to give all the credit to Nurture Right for making such an awesome and affordable incubator. I'm not in any way affiliated with them, I'm just an impressed customer who was very happy with the hatch rate, as well as the ease of using the incubator, and also the design allowed for us to watch the whole process so well. If you would like me to do a review on this incubator or talk more about it, let me know in the comments. This felt like such a big step forward to self-sufficiency as well, because I now don't see any reason to purchase laying chicks in the future. We absolutely loved hatching them instead. We also have been having fun learning to forage and preserve some plants that grow wild here in Wisconsin. We have walked the ditches gathering wild asparagus, and it still amazes me that this wonderful crop grows like a weed here. Okay, we are out picking ramps today, so I'm going to show you what these are and how you harvest them. I had not heard of ramps before we moved to northern Wisconsin, but they grow wild in our forested areas here. They taste like a combination of garlic and onion. They taste amazing and they're great for making things with. You can saute them up with like eggs, or we like to make ramp butter. So we're just gonna harvest some. We don't wanna harvest too many so that we have plenty in future years. Okay, so you're gonna want to get them from the base because you want the whole bulb to come up. Okay, so they still have the bulb attached here, and we'll use the whole thing. So we're just gonna do a small bucket of them and then we'll go in and show you what we do with them. Back at the house, we chopped up the ramps we picked today in order to dry in our food dehydrator. After the ramps were completely dry, my 8-year-old could make his very own ramp seasoning by running them through the food processor and then adding some additional seasonings. It turned out wonderfully and he hopes to sell some of his seasoning next year. Our most successful harvest so far this year, however, has been dandelions. Yep, you heard me right. Did you know that every part of the dandelion is edible and packed full of nutrients and medicinal benefits? I had heard about dandelion jelly, so I decided that I wanted to give that a try. But all of the recipes I had found required large amounts of refined sugar. So I decided to create a recipe that uses only honey as a sweetener, which works well because the dandelion petals have a natural honey-like taste anyway. I also want to point out that this recipe was only possible because of the magic of Pomona's pectin, which I will link below. This is a unique type of pectin that doesn't require sugar to set. In order to make dandelion jelly, you first need to gather about 16 cups of dandelion flower heads. These should be fully mature heads and you only need the tops. Next, you're going to remove the yellow petals from the flower and add them to a 4-cup container or quart jar. You can either pick the petals off by hand or cut them with scissors, but try to avoid getting any of the green leafy parts into the jar. This step is the most tedious and time-consuming, but can also be done easily by kids and goes quickly with many hands doing the work. You will continue doing this until your jar is filled to the top with petals. Then lightly press down to compact them slightly. The slightly compressed flower petals should equal approximately 3 cups or 3/4 of your jar. Next, heat up 4 cups of water until boiling and add it to your jar until completely full of the boiling water and flower petals. Let this tea steep for a minimum of 4 to 5 hours. I've let it sit overnight as well. Next, you're going to strain the liquid away from the mixture. Here, I ran it through a strainer and then a strainer with a flour sack towel, but on future batches, I skipped the first step. The flour sack towel method works just fine. You can then give the towel a squeeze to get any remaining liquid out of the flower petals. Now is a good time to heat up your jars and prep your canning supplies if you will be canning the jelly. I like to fill my canner to the height of my jars with water and bring it to a boil while I'm prepping my recipe. If you need to sterilize your jars, let them boil for 10 minutes. If you're just heating them, shut off the heat and let them sit in the hot water until you are ready to use them. You will then pour the strained liquid into a pot over medium heat. If you want to be precise, the liquid should measure 3 1/4 cup. Add a 1/4 cup of lemon juice and 4 teaspoons of calcium water to the mixture and stir well. If you have never used Pomona's pectin before, follow the instructions that come with it for making and storing the calcium water. It's very simple to mix up and can be stored and used for future recipes. Whisk well and slowly bring the mixture to a boil. While the mixture is heating up, measure out 1 1/2 cups of honey into a separate bowl. Add 3 1/2 teaspoons of the pectin powder to the honey and whisk well until fully dissolved into the honey. After your tea mixture comes to a boil, slowly start adding the honey and pectin, whisking briskly to combine. Remove your jars from the canner and set them on a dry towel near the stove. A jar lifter and funnel are helpful tools if you have them. Bring the mixture back to a boil, continuing to whisk well so that the honey and pectin are evenly distributed. It is normal for it to foam up a bit. Just continue to stir until it boils at a rolling boil for a full minute. Then, after boiling for 1 minute, shut off the heat and immediately distribute the mixture into your canning jars. Wipe the edges of the jars with a wet paper towel and place your canning lids and bands on. Tighten the bands with one hand, secure but not too tight. Process in a water bath canner for 10 minutes. Let cool on the towel without disturbing them until they are completely cool and the lids have sealed. At this point, you can remove the bands and store the jars in a dark, cool place. Refrigerate after opening and enjoy. If you need a good way to use up this jelly, I highly recommend it on homemade sourdough bread. If you need a recipe, I have another video showing just that. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss my future videos. I make videos each week on homesteading, homeschooling, food from scratch, and creating a handmade home.